We welcome spirits to the light. We welcome spirits wrong or right. We dig down deep inside the earth and drag up something to judge its worth. We chat and shout and screech and scream, but we do not appear as we first may seem.
In the summer of 2016, my colleague Ralph Anderson and myself were trying to think of ways in which we could take the sort of expertise in Greek drama that the School of Classics had out into the community, beyond just teaching our students and doing research and talking to academics. And we realised that there was a local youth theatre group called Bar Youth Theatre Limited. So we thought it would be great to work with this not-for-profit on a Greek drama project. Initially, I came in and sort of lectured to the group a little bit about what Greek drama is, the kind of festival context of Greek tragedy, and we had a couple of sessions like that, and then gradually they would devise their own performance that would in some sense be inspired by Greek drama and Greek tragedy and make a performance that's their own. Okay, we're going. Okay. Hamartia is ancient Greek for a terrible mistake or fatal flaw that brings a hero low. So can you tell us a little bit about what this play is about? What's the fatal flaw? What's the mistake?
Well, this is about a politician. He's dead, and he's in a sort of underworld, and he's being judged. And he makes a lot of mistakes in his life, which we highlight. And his fatal flaw tends to be he's very much pushing forward for what he thinks of in his eyes as a greater good, without thinking about consequences. And he does it on small scales, like doing things that kind of betray his family for his own big ideas. And he does it on bigger scales, and in the end he causes mass destruction in the city.
Humanity was on the brink of extinction itself, and our leaders just didn't care. So I decided to save us all.
One thing we've seen from the group is how they are quite interested in those aspects of Greek tragedy that involve calling an individual to account. So in the play that you're devising, you've got a politician, his spirit is being summoned up, and also he's interacting with other ghosts from the past. In order for that politician's crimes and misdemeanours to be judged.
His breath smells like death.
What the hell? What's going on?
We talked right at the beginning about the context of Greek theatre in the Athenian community, in the Athenian city-state. How far did those themes kind of help you, do you think, to come up with a story?
I think it was well, partly just when we read through the texts and talked about them, it gave us lots of inspiration for ideas. I think even the idea of deception, which is just a very general theme in Greek drama, became so important in our play. And then there was more specific bits, like the choral bits we read. We directly use those as an influence. And also I think it made us kind of more enthusiastic about our play and to latch onto ideas when we came up with something and then went, that relates to this thing that John was talking about last week. That's fantastic. That happened all the time, and I think it made it it made us more enthusiastic, and it made us happier with our ideas when we could see the connections that we were making.
I had to make a stand. Sacrifices had to be made. Politics is a cutthroat world, and if you're not willing to make the hard choices, then you will be left behind.
One of the other themes that we had planned to talk about were these themes of deception and decision making. And the first play that I wanted to tell you about, really I picked because the play you've devised has a politician in it. This play is Sophocles' Philoctetes. What we've got here in this scene is the Greek hero Odysseus. You've all heard of Odysseus, yeah? And what he's trying to do here is to persuade a young hero called Neoptolemus. And Neoptolemus is actually the son of Achilles, the great hero of Troy, Achilles. But by now Achilles is dead, And what Odysseus and Neoptolemus have done is they've left Troy. The war at Troy is still happening, but it's in deadlock, okay? So the Trojans haven't been defeated. And they've come to an island called Lemnos, where years and years ago, on the way to Troy, the Greek fleet abandoned a hero called Philoctetes. He has to fend for himself with his bow. He's an archer. In fact, he's the best archer in the Greek army. But there's a prophecy now that's been told that says that the Greeks can't take Troy without Philoctetes and the bow. Okay? So it's like a secret weapon. So Odysseus and Neoptolemus have been dispatched by Agamemnon and the rest of the Greek leadership to get him back. And here, in this scene, Odysseus is explaining to Neoptolemus why they have to trick Philoctetes onto the boat, and how Neoptolemus has got to do it because Philoctetes hates Odysseus. If he catches sight of Odysseus, he's not want to go on the ship.
Because isn't Odysseus supposed to be quite good with words? So you kind of assume it will be him that will be using his rhetoric in his language.
Yeah, exactly. But instead, what he's doing here is he's kind of grooming Neoptolemus to do the job. And so you can see here, he says at the top there, where I've put the asterisks, "For now, though, give yourself to me for one brief hour or two, devoid of shame, and then forevermore you can be famed as the most virtuous of mortal men." And Neoptolemus is saying, it's not in my nature to manage anything by means of sordid guile. It's not my way, and not my father's either. That's Achilles. Because in the Iliad, in Homer's Iliad, Achilles famously says to Odysseus, "I hate a man who says one thing but has another thing in his heart. I hate people who use deception, including you, Odysseus." And of course the audience would all know their Homer and they would know this. And so in the end, Neoptolemus says at the bottom there, "All right, I'll do it, and I'll lay aside all sense of shame." Okay. So you've got this idea that it will save the Greek army to do this trick. Okay. But Neoptolemus is very uncomfortable with it because he's a sort of heroic, noble figure who doesn't believe in doing anything with trickery.
It's interesting, actually, that line. So none of those lies lead safely to success kind of almost fits in with your character, essentially. Because that's kind of his attitude almost, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like deception and what he does, it's not wrong because it's getting the results that he wants.
Yeah.
So, well, the results which are beneficial to people. So that's interesting.
Well, also, this is something I've talked about in my book about this stuff, about deception, one of the things I argue is that this is quite a complicated situation morally and politically, because people tend to condemn Odysseus completely, because he looks like a nasty piece of work here, doesn't he? But actually, in a situation of war, the Greek audience, or some of the Greek audience, would understand that sometimes you might have to use lies and deception, to save your own troops.
Which again fits in for you, actually. Yeah.
Cameron, what does your character argue? What sorts of things does he say?
He's pretty much arguing the fact that current leaders, like before he actually came into power, that they're basically just wasting all the resources that they had, and it wasn't actually producing any results for anyone. Well, what he was going to do was actually look for an actual resource or find some way of actually getting everyone back on the back of the back foot and actually help people.
So it's like, well, look, we've got a situation here. The means justify the ends. We've got to get results. That's very much what Odysseus is saying in this play.
Everything you do is that stupid. Come in.
Everything I do is for us, for the kids, for everyone.
That's a month's worth of water.
We've been on worse times. I'm sure we'll be able to manage.
Do you have any characters who, as it were, have been manipulated by the politician figure?
I feel like Harry's taking the boat is kind of like Harry's taking the water thing from his wife. The whole world's like set with like water credits and like tokens and that, and he's taking them from like us to give to other people, and it's kind of like he like took it without singing and stuff, like kind of portraying.
Right. Okay. So he kind of manipulates you.
Yeah, I think that sense of manipulation as well definitely comes in with how you then treat Myrta as well. In terms of like taking advantage of him moving himself above you in terms of position. So again, that idea of kind of Silvertongue's speech is something we can play with in terms of your relationship as well.
So there's something I need to discuss with you. It's I'd say it's rather important.
Oh, is it about tonight? That's fine, I'm busy
No,
tonight.
it's
anyway.
not about tonight. It's more than just tonight.
Oh.
Do you remember the position I was talking to you about?
Yes, the one we've been working at together for years.
Yes, well, I'm afraid I've had to give it to someone else.
What did you just say?
Eventually, Neoptolemus gets pangs of conscience. So he manages to deceive Philoctetes, and I won't go into all the ins and outs of the story he tells. Basically, he tells Philoctetes he'll take him home to his homeland, whereas really he's not going to. But then Neoptolemus gets this pang of guilt and pity as he's watching Philoctetes suffering with his wound, and he can't quite go through with it. And then the chorus say, "What shall we do?" And then at the bottom of the page there, you see Neoptolemus says, "I've been shaken by a potent sense of pity for this man." And Philoctetes says, "For God's sake, pity me, my son. Don't let yourself become a byword for your tricking me." And Neoptolemus is just now in a dilemma. What shall I do? I wish I'd never sailed from Skyros, that's his homeland. This dilemma pierces me so painfully, and here we've got really the essence of tragedy all in one. We've got the importance of pity, about how, you can get away from fellow feeling for someone and then actually realise it's important to actually have that feeling, that actually in a sense that feeling might trump all other considerations.
Well, I think it's like one of the big things about Greek tragedy is that there's always this thought of like there's the hero, they do something that leads to their own downfall, and that this is pretty much what the play is based upon. Is that it was basically just showing the three main points of my character's life that showed that's where he basically fell from being this good guy to being not like the evil guy at the end, but he's just the guy that's made mistakes in the past. Really.
Like broken.
Yeah, broken, really. That's the real way about it. Because when you're like young and that, you start off, you have all these ideas, you have all these aspirations, and that's kind of the same with my character. Hey, I know this is what I want to do, but I'm having to do all these things, and all those actions were starting to affect them mentally, as like just taking their toll, really.
And another brilliant example of this man's idiotic decisions.
Don't even I get to say
Shit!
that?
Thank you, Jesus.
I mean, there are analogues there with your character and Philoctetes, in that you get to kind of voice your complaints. You get to kind of answer back, as it were, which I think is another important aspect of the sort of tragic mode that we can get from the Greeks, which is that issues get debated, people get called to account, but they get a voice. They're allowed to defend themselves, but they are called to account. And in a sense, it's the audience that gets to sort of decide, it gets pulled one way or another.
And we would not have got where we were if it weren't for me and for all I've done.
But the expedition has failed.
Well, I think probably when I first conceived of the project, I think I might have been thinking, oh well, we'll do a scene from a Greek tragedy or something like that, or we'll do some scenes from Greek tragedy. I think I hadn't really expected the group to be so creative, to actually have all these ideas and to be able to listen to some information about Greek drama and then filter it through their own interests and experiences, but come up with something totally original.
I think like one of the big things that we enjoyed about doing this was that we were able to make our own characters about this, and like what we really had like all the control per se. So it really was kind of all in our hands really, which was nice because there's a lot of places that go, okay, there's your lines, and you're like, well, can I like change them slightly around a wee bit just to make them a bit more sense? So it was nice having the control.
I think if someone had given us, a plot with like some bits of script and stuff, we might have a more complete show put on. It might have been easier, but I think it would have been much less interesting for us,
Yeah.
and we would have learned a lot less from it. Because it would have been the kind of thing that we do in drama, we've done in drama a lot, and I've never done anything like this before.
It was a lot of fun being able to do what we wanted with
Right.
it, rather than having like not strict guidelines, but like if you were given like a script, say, oh, go alter that, rather than saying, okay, go make up a scene. Like it's a lot more fun to experiment with it because you can achieve a lot better things, and ultimately you can achieve probably a better plot.
And do you get to say how you feel about that in the play? So what sort of you give him a piece of his mind, a piece of your mind. Yeah. One thing I had to learn was not to lecture the group for too long, and to really respond to you guys as a group in terms of what it is you wanted to find out about ancient drama, particularly Greek tragedy.
Each one that you've done, I've taken something that you've talked about and basically used it as a springboard to get them to think about the piece. Either that's through text, either that's through an image, piece of history, you know what I mean? So just something. So it's good. It's good. It's definitely been a help. We wouldn't have been able to do it without these sessions, I don't think, because it's just providing a different insight. So yeah, I found it really useful, and they've definitely found it really useful.
I think one thing you're particularly good at is perhaps finding analogues with other traditions or other kind of ideas. So, you know, because you know about other theatrical traditions, you're able to see parallels, use your current experience, and say, well, you know, if we think about the underworld or chthonic deities or whatever, then let's think about this concept of bardo in Buddhism. Or let's think about flocking as a technique to help the group think about coordinated action as a chorus. So, you know, that's been impressive to watch.
Maybe out that way, so then that way you're kind of spreading out like that. And Gillian, I want to see you kind of rocking almost over and over.
After I'd done a session on the ghosts and talked about the Persians and about Euripides, Hecuba, I wasn't there for the next session, but you, as you've told me, you came back and showed them that bit of the Persians where Darius is being lifted up. I think out of that then came that marvellous opening chorus our players now got, which is their own original work. And then you kind of honed in on making sure they're, on the one hand, they're in sync and they're acting like a ritualistic chorus. So it has real affinities with the Aeschylus, but they're owning it. And also, just in the space of an hour, I just watched, you were doing things with them about their movements, their posture, their use of their voice, and within an hour, it got 10 times better.
Dig deep! We welcome spirits to the light. We welcome spirits wrong or right. We dig down deep inside the earth and drag up something to judge its worth.
And do you think you've learned something about Greek theatre?
Oh, yeah.
Because of the Alpha Night?
I didn't actually know much about it when I started. Like, it was almost like everybody knew something about it, and I just, I don't actually know anything. So I've learned.
Theatre is for entertainment, but it's like educate people on certain things. So I think having an element of like some educational point would be interesting, because people could take something away from it, having learned something rather than just having a good time.
Yeah, or at least, even if it doesn't directly teach them anything, I mean, we're not sitting there and like telling them what Greek theatre is, but if it makes them think about something, I think, even if it's like a comedy that you're going to see, you should always come away thinking about it, and I hope that people can go away from this with like their own, like forming opinions on what it all meant and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Tear,
Rend, drown, fear, spirit once exposed to light. Your wrongs dug deep are now in sight.
no silvered tongue or grave lament.
Do you think it's something we should do more of?
Oh, definitely.
I think it's anything that helps the university and the community get together is really, really cool. And the theatre is such an important part of the community. Even out of like when I wasn't in the youth theatre, when I wasn't acting, I've been going to see shows at the Byre every Christmas Eve since I was 2. And I remember a few years ago the Byre got closed for most of the year, and I've never seen St Andrews come together like that, because it's not a very community-oriented place, because people come and go with the uni all the time, but like so many people got together to try and help, and it was really, really cool.
Probably what was brought out for me, their incredible imagination has kind of sort of made me realise, or made me rethink my own imagination about what one can do with these collaborations.
Yeah.
So it's making me much more, they're inspiring me to be much more imaginative with how one might interact with any kind of community-based theatre group or organisation. It doesn't have to be a translation or a version of an actual Greek tragedy to come up with something that's really inspired by and speaks to the experience of ancient Greek drama.
You to us are sadly bound. We send you forth to hunt and hound those you prized and hold so dear,
to tear and rend,
and drown in fear.